Are we like Norway, Iceland, the Faroese? Are we in control? And my suspicion...
Fishing?
Absolutely.
So the acid test for Brexit is fishing?
I think it is.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Political X. For more knowledge and updates on UK, European and US politics, make sure you subscribe to this channel. So if fishing is the litmus test, if that is what Nigel is saying is the key indicator for Brexit, my word, has this been a complete and utter disaster. To the point where Nigel won't even go to the fishing villages that he's destroyed, and he's advising others that were part of the Brexit campaign and the negotiations not to go there as well. Let's have a listen to what the fishermen are going through right now.
EU has stopped British fishermen from selling oysters, mussels, clams and scallops to member states. It's a devastating blow for Tim, who's been doing this for 50 years.
If I never had a bit of money in the bank and my wife wasn't working, I think we'd be out of an house, you know?
It's that serious since Brexit?
Yeah. There's people in here who's turned to drink because of the strength of this. Don't know where to go, what to do, how to pay their bills.
Frankly, what we were sold was a complete pack of scaremongering lies. It was called Project Fear. You know, the fishermen are really angry, and if you drove from your constituency an hour and a half, 2 hours southwest, I recommend you don't at the moment.
For some that bought into pre-deal promises, this isn't the honeymoon they were hoping for.
Well, when it all started, we had flags flying on the boats. Oh, Brexit, we're going to be free, get our own waters back.
Did you have one of the flags?
Yeah, we had a flag. We got a brand new flag, put it up. I wouldn't even put it up now. I wouldn't even use it for a rag, what's happened to us.
It's Project Fear Mark II. You know, the fishermen are really angry, and if you drove from your constituency an hour and a half, 2 hours southwest, I recommend you don't at the moment.
We could be in big trouble.
And so what is the prospect for your industry?
At the present, it's pretty bleak. Unless Boris can do something, maybe he can wave a magic wand. I'm not quite sure on that one. He did promise us that he had an oven-ready deal, but it strikes me that he doesn't even have the oven-ready deal out of the freezer yet.
You know, the fishermen are really angry, and if you drove from your constituency an hour and a half, 2 hours southwest, I recommend you don't at the moment.
It's not what we wanted. It's not what we asked for. I think we all knew deep down that we'd get shafted, used as a lever, but I don't think we all thought it would be this bad.
And it's clear now that Project Fear is over.
You know, the fishermen are really angry, and if you drove from your constituency an hour and a half, 2 hours southwest, I recommend you don't at the moment.
I'm probably one of the only remain voting fishermen you'll find. I think there's another couple, but now I'm not happily walking around the quay saying I told you so, but I am walking around the quay saying I told you so. We were sold as the poster boys of Brexit, and it was all about reclaiming our waters and getting our territory back. And, it was just nonsense. The whole thing was nonsense.
But there are some gains here, are there not? I mean,
there are
some better off than you were?
I don't know. No, I'm not actually, because eventually this boat, I will spend probably 35–40% of my year in French waters. I will spend we land in Holland, we send our boats to Holland for refits. We haven't got the infrastructure to refit this boat here. So we are very closely geographically and politically tied with Europe. This whole thing was just pointless.
Lead to a mortality rate. I think this is the worst excess of Project Fear, and I'm surprised that
All the way through Brexit, people were making warnings of this. As soon as we removed ourselves from the EU, we were going to be damaged. The big difference was we didn't remove ourselves immediately upon the vote, and so it got mixed up with, in part, the worrying of the vote. Then on top of that, when we actually did remove ourselves from the EU. And the two things got conflated, and yet they're separate things. The vote was damaging. The Bank of England did a great job in mitigating that damage, and that damage was somewhat exaggerated. The difference was when we finally removed ourselves out, which looked like it had an inevitability of being a full removal, so we weren't ruled by EU courts or the EU Parliament. At that point, that's when the real damage happened. That's when Project Fear became Project Here. But there's more to this. So first of all, there's Nigel's campaigning, and second of all, there was the fact that Nigel was in the EU Commission for Fisheries for the whole of the EU. And from what I can tell, he went to one meeting, and then when he was called out on that, he said there was no point, because it didn't do anything. Well, it might have given him an education on what would happen if you did a no-deal Brexit, if you pulled out and had no trade deal with the EU. Over and over again, when it comes to the fine detail, I find Nigel completely and utterly lacking in any understanding as to what the EU did, and that's either deliberate and malicious, or that it's just down to pure stupidity and laziness from Nigel, who couldn't even be bothered to go to the EU Commission fisheries meetings that he's paid to go to by us, the taxpayer. I'll be providing some evidence a little bit later, but let's actually have a look at what Nigel said during the campaign for Brexit and fishing.
During that 21-month transition, there are already hundreds of under 10 metre inshore fishermen in this country literally existing on the brink, because the quotas they're being given by the EU are not enough, frankly, to even cover their diesel. So I think what will happen is hundreds of fishermen could go bust in that 21-month period.
They didn't go bust within that transition period. If anything, the economy seemed to be stable. It's when Brexit kicked in that the economy tanked, and the fishermen could fish in their own waters, but they couldn't sell to anyone, Nigel. But it got worse because Nigel continued to say how much of a disaster it would be for fishermen if they stayed in the EU.
That's a disaster for the commercial fishing industry, for the angling industry, and I wonder, in a harbour like this, another 2 years of EU rules, just how many of these people will still be in business? So the time to protest is now.
A damn sight more than Brexit has given them. It's absolutely destroyed the fishing industry to the point where you're so scared of fishing villages now, you won't go there and you're advising other Brexiteers not to go there. Speaking of other Brexiteers, let's have a listen to Rees Mogg and his predictions.
We're here to support the fishing community, which has been ravaged by the failures of the common fisheries policy since 1973, and we want to get back control of our fishing waters.
You can have all the control you want, but if you've got no one to sell to, what difference does it make? You're still going to destroy those industries, except you're going to accelerate that like it's on steroids. What amazes me more is how happy they were to go down to get their votes, but as soon as they were done with the fishermen, they might as well have thrown them back into the sea.
And we've got Boris and we've got Brexit done. It's not perfect. You know, the fishermen are angry, really angry. And if you drove from your constituency an hour and a half, 2 hours southwest to Brixham Market, or I recommend you don't at the moment, they really are jolly angry about it, the way it's worked out. But constitutionally, we finished.
So that was my first point. But my second point is that Nigel knows nothing about the EU. He is literally ignorant, despite the fact that he's been an MEP for 2 decades. So the first clip I'm going to show is Nigel getting schooled by someone who knows what they're talking about, a farmer, a dairy farmer, who schools Nigel on understanding the EU better than Nigel.
Of the 3 million people who were coming into the country as migrant workers, 2.94 million were working and 60,000 weren't. So I think there's a very legitimate concern over people who don't put in and pull out. But there were EU rules in place for those people to be removed from the country.
Phil, don't make me laugh. The idea that Phil, don't make me laugh. Please, honestly, let's grow up with this. It's nonsense. The idea that somebody who'd come here after 3 months hadn't found a regular job, that we were going to put them in handcuffs and send them back through Dover. I mean, it's never ever going to happen. Phil, I also want to make this.
There were other countries that did apply that, though, weren't there, within the EU?
Who?
Didn't the Hungarians do that? Didn't the Belgians do that?
I've never seen the Belgians physically deporting anybody to another European country. No,
well, you may not have seen them. Absolutely. That didn't happen.
Well, I tell you what, I worked there for 21 years. I might know.
In the heart of Europe, Belgium is home to more than 1 million immigrants out of a total population of 11 million. Around 70% are from other EU member states, with large Italian, Dutch and French communities. In recent years, Belgian immigration policy towards Europeans has tightened, and more people are having their residency permits withdrawn from 8 in 2008 to more than 2,000 in 2014. Between 2008 and last year, more than 10,000 people were ordered to leave Belgium.
I also want
There
to
were
make
other countries that did apply that, though, weren't there, within the EU?
Who?
Didn't the Hungarians do that? Didn't the Belgians do that?
I've never seen the Belgians physically deporting anybody to another European country. No.
Well, you may not have seen them, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, I tell you what, I worked there for 21 years, I might know.
What Nigel doesn't know could fill a warehouse, a library, and the internet. The damage he's done, I mean, it's almost like promising food to the hungry and then sitting there pouring gasoline over the food when they arrive to collect. As stated earlier, Farage was on the Fishing Commission for the EU, but he never bothered to turn up because he was so obsessed with Brexit. If he'd actually taken the time to turn up at the EU Commission, he could have tried to change some of the legislation, or he would actually learn of the actual damage a no-deal Brexit or this form of Brexit would have on the fisheries, and he might have thought twice before offering the fishermen a dream world that they were never going to get. And again, he can't be bothered to even go and say sorry. Have a listen to Nigel get absolutely burnt in the EU Parliament because he can't be bothered to turn up to meetings that he's paid to go to.
Mr. President, but Mr. Farage has the whole morning talked about salaries and biggest waste of money. Well, you know, colleagues, what I think is the biggest waste of money in the European Union of today, there's a salary we are paying to Mr. Farage. That is the biggest waste of money. Oh no, Mr. Farage, let's be honest about it. You are a member of the Fishery Committee, for example, and you're never there. Never. In 2011, no attendance. In 2012, no attendance. It's fantastic what you're doing. You're coming here saying it's a scandal, the salaries that are being paid, and you pay yourself a salary without doing any labor in your own committee. That's the reality of the European Union today. You want the figure? Well, you can laugh. I hope that maybe this can be sent out on the BBC this evening once, and on all the other private television in Britain, how you in fact cheating your own citizens here. All the time. Already 3 years in a row. And I think it has to finish, because we know that Mr. Alain Lamassoure has right. This union, if it wants to become a real federal union, needs own resources. Needs, in fact, his own income. And that is the big battle to do now. And we shall do it together, and if it's necessary, without you, Mr. Farage.
Considering the level of damage he's done, it is really disgusting to see him sat there laughing, finding this all very amusing. Well, on that cheerful note, thank you very much for listening to this week's Political X video. If you'd like to subscribe, click the subscription button, make sure you press the like and the notification button. Once again, thanks to all my patrons. If you'd like to be one, it's about the price of a coffee a month. I hope you enjoyed my political observations this week. If you'd like to support me, please share the video with others and post about it on social media. If you're keen for more, subscribe, comment, like, and hit that notification button. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on Political X.